Hey everyone, welcome to the 2023 Run Rabbit Run 100. We're here in Steamboat Springs at Olympian Hall. I'm Jamil Curry with Mountain Outpost, joined by Jason Schlarb, three-time winner of this race. Really excited to have him. And our guest right now is Jimmy Elam. Elam?
Yeah, Elam.
Elam. And he is coming off a huge course record at the High Lonesome 100 just this July and has number of wins, the Bear 100 a couple years ago, Tusher's 100K. Jimmy, we're excited to have you here, not only to chat with us, but to toe the line at Run Rabbit Run this year. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. Couldn't be more excited. I was out here for the first time just about 10 days ago and scouted the course, almost the whole thing. And, it was like one day I was like, this is the most amazing course. The next day I was like, this sucks. But everywhere from Buttery Park City kind of single track trails to super technical, steep descent and climb, like for a section there around Fish Creek. But it has it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I haven't run this race before, but it seems like it does have this kind of perfect mix of almost everything involved in it.
I've been really looking forward to you running this race, Jimmy. Doing a little bit of fanboy here. I remember meeting you at Broken Arrow when you won that race, and just knowing that you have a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a collegiate background, and I think Run Rabbit Run specifically is a great race for your skill set. It's you've got the altitude, but you also have got a decent amount of climbing. You're a great climber. How do you feel coming into this race? After such an awesome performance in July.
Yeah. Let's see. So my resume, if you just take a quick glance, you'll see most of the races are, on paper quite a bit harder than Run Rabbit. When you just see like 100-ish miles with 16K climbing, and sure you got the altitude, but seems pretty quick. So I think compared to what I've raced in the past, this is going to be, it's going to take a little bit more leg speed than, like a Tusher's or Broken Arrow or even, like a Bear. So I'm excited. I've been doing a lot of my training that's just faster paced, not fast by any means, but, in that, I'd say like 8 to 9.5 minute mile average, kind of targeting a lot of my long runs, averaging just a little quicker than my goal race pace here. Especially compared to High Lonesome, I mean, man, you're up at like 12 to 13,000 feet for just seems like forever. So quite a bit higher and harder of a race than I think this will be, and slower. So finishing that in roughly 19 and a half hours. Tomorrow, I'm hoping for quite a bit faster than that, if all goes well. But honestly, when I was researching times and races in the past, like yours as well, it's hard for me before I saw the course to be like, how's only winning times only 18 hours? It seems like it should be faster than that. But once you factor in you're running through the whole night when you're the most tired and you don't see your crew for the last 6 hours, I think it kind of gets in people's heads, and the weather turns instantly out here. I found that out when I was scouting the course. It's like 1 minute you're just scorching hot, and the next you're borderline hypothermic.
That is definitely a big factor, because nobody's used to being cold in mid-September, and so traditionally we've seen a lot of weather where it's 60 or 70 degrees, and then it gets cold down to 20 something up on the divide. But this year's stays cool, and I think that'll be a good advantage for everybody that's running the race this year. But I think another factor too, Jimmy, for this race that makes it a little bit slower is that it's almost all runnable. And if you have a chink in your armor, if you have a low point, all of a sudden you're finding yourself walking something that is not very steep, and you lose a lot of time. So it's a really important thing to keep feeling good the whole race. You don't get those breaks like you do at High Lonesome or Tushers where you can walk around for a while. You've got to be able to run at a moderate effort for 18 hours. I think that's one of the challenging things. But, I think part of the reason that I think you're my favorite for this race, and that I think that you could even break 18 hours for this is that, don't you have a collegiate background of running really, really fast?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
But it's in there. It's in there.
In all honesty, yeah, I do. I love the douche grade. I feel like I'm a master of the douche grade. I absolutely look forward to those very high altitude.
That's what Run Rabbit is.
Dirt road climbs, yeah, at 10,000 feet. I don't do speed workouts. Like I don't do really any workouts, to be honest. I have some days that are quite easy, some days that are quite tough, and then moderate days too. Kind of just don't even know what I'm doing until I get out the door. But I do not do structured speed work, and I think if you don't use it, you lose it. And I'd say a majority of the top contenders as far as leg speed goes do have better leg speed than I do. But I do think my advantage would be just 3 decades of racing under my belt now. Not necessarily in ultras, but just have been doing it for a very long time. Very confident in what my potential is, and I've had some of the best training blocks of my life the last few months. A great race at High Lonesome. Also, that was 2 months ago, so you don't really know how you're recovered from a 100-miler until you race the next 100-miler, I think. So, but I feel pretty dang good otherwise. Yeah.
Well, being the master of the douche grade, there's you mentioned some of the competition, Arlen, being able to run so fast at Western States or doing well here too is that there's the speedy run at Western States, and then there's the power hiking at UTMB, but this one is that middle ground that I think that you can do that.
There's a lot of that in the Wasatch. It was not too hard to find runs that were just ever so slightly harder than this race will be as far as that ratio goes of mileage to ascent. And I think being able to run up at 10,000 feet every single day pretty much for the last 3-4 months has been great. I don't really notice 10,000 feet. So I think, well, ask me, 70 miles in, Dry Lake or Summit Lake again. But I think all the cards are in line in order for a pretty fantastic day. I feel great.
Jimmy, I'm curious, your past 100-milers that you've done, did they all mostly go according to plan? Do you have many lows? Just kind of maybe walk us through a couple of them.
Yeah, so the Bear was my first 100. I've actually only done 3. The Bear, UTMB, and then High Lonesome. The Bear I kind of just fooled around and had fun. No pressure, and sometimes that even works in your favor. So I can't say I would have done so much faster if I would have tried harder. But I would get to that lodge aid station. I think it was 60 plus miles and 70 miles in or something, and just hung out with my friends and family and had espresso and chill for 20 minutes. And I won't be doing that tomorrow. But no serious low points there. UTMB, I had multiple low points, just mainly nutrition related. I did great through the night, kind of just, I was locked and loaded and focused, and ran just a really conservative first half. So it was nice actually having the night early on. But after Courmayeur, I did hit a low point. I ate some prosciutto, which I won't be having tomorrow. And then projectile vomiting ensued for 15 miles.
Tried to do the Euro thing, huh?
Yeah, I know. I was just when
the cheese and meat just doesn't work if you're not used to it, man.
It does not work. So just one of those rookie mistakes that I'm what was I thinking? But I didn't have dinner. I didn't have a real dinner. So I was craving something kind of salty and satiating. So low points at UTMB were specifically related to just not being quite dialed with nutrition. And then the last climb before you drop into back into Chamonix, I had a super low where you get to that point of where you can't be on that eat every hour time frame. You have to be eating every half hour or just constantly kind of nibble, sip. But I realized it was just over an hour since I last ate, and my body was starting to shut down completely. I could feel all the way down in my arms and my fingertips, just getting that tingling feeling, and you just start, you start getting a little dizzy, you start just dumping sweat, just drops and drops of sweat, and you're like, something's wrong. And I was like, I think I just need to eat something. I popped, unfortunately, I only had like a bar on me, so I didn't have any quick sugar, so it took a few extra minutes. That threw me off, probably 10, 15 minutes, I'd say, of the whole day. Didn't like ruin it, but it costed me 12th place to 14th place for sure. But my nutrition here is, it seems like perfectly dialed. I should
perfect.
Be
a lot of athletes now are doing like cyclists and trying to hit calories that are 400 or 350 or 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour. What kind of training have you done with nutrition? What's your plan for tomorrow for those kind of rates?
Yeah, I have a mix of multiple things, and I wouldn't say that I have an exact amount of carbs per hour that I'm shooting for, but it's a range. Ideally like 70 to 80-ish. I've been taking a good amount of like Morton. So, I'll have like some bicarb I'll have before the race and a little bit in the middle, but then they're like 320 drink mix and gels. It just sits super well, and I need that high octane fuel. And then for later in the day, I have, I kind of think it's a little secret weapon, especially because it's going to be cold, but NAC makes a sweet salty broth mix.
Yeah, I saw your 2 bottles on social media there. So, you've got them pre-made, and
they'll be pre-made in the thermos and
what does it
hot
taste
water.
like?
So it tastes like a more wholesome broth than like what you just get in an aid station. So it has probably similar amounts of sodium, but it also has higher calories. You're thinking like, and obviously you choose what you want. Like if you can't have a full 2 scoops and 250 calories, you can have a little less. So I'm actually going to have probably closer to 150 to 200 calories, just so it's not sitting too much in my stomach. But I plan to have 3 to 4 bottles of that in the second half, and I've tested it out on a few night runs and was actually blown away on like how well it sits in my stomach.
And you take that warm?
Yep, okay. It'll be warm. And straight up, like I'm a hot weather racer and runner. Like typical California boy. I used to I spent most of my life there training in triple digits, and I love the heat. So the cold, I'm prepared as far as the kit goes, but I always hope for warmer temps. But this will be a nice thing to have. Like having a hot drink.
Seems like it'd be something like to really look forward to, and to like mix up the sweetness from earlier in the day. It seems like I saw it
instead of prosciutto. The soup's better.
Seems like a really interesting product. I'll be watching.
Yeah, it dissolves super well too. That's actually probably one of the biggest surprises to me. Is just like a few stirs and you're not getting that, like you'd think there might be like sediment on the bottom or something, but it's pretty smooth. Yeah.
Cool. And then I did want to hear your high Lonesome went pretty much flawless, or how did that play out?
No, far from flawless. If you just like looked at the performance on paper, you'd think that it did go flawless. It was a tough day, and I think it was a combination of being at such high altitude for so long, and it was one of the hottest years on record. Sure, I got the course record by over an hour from, I think, pretty solid performance from Ryan Smith, but I was getting sick the whole second half of the race, and it started to get progressively worse by the time I picked up my girlfriend with like 16 miles to go, and the last 10 miles actually I couldn't have anything besides like swishing ginger brew in my mouth, like ginger soda. Like it was literally a tactic where like I can't ingest anything without throwing it up, so I would swish it and kind of trick my brain into thinking that I was getting some nutrition there, because it was like not something I'd recommend ever.
That's a nice Band-Aid.
But it's a Band-Aid where it's like I just got to get home. I was still moving fine physically, but I knew that the clock was ticking for like, when is my body going to just shut down like it has before. But I think having those quick sugars and still probably absorbing some just by like, taking those like quick little sips. Overall, fantastic day. I loved the heat. I loved the course. Caleb puts on probably one of the coolest events that I've ever experienced. I mean, it felt like it felt like it was a brand new place to me, but it felt like home. It felt very welcoming, and you can see not only before, during, after the race, just like how much he cares about it, and how much of himself he puts out there to make sure everyone has the best experience. And it's something that I'd say, like, it's not going to get any easier, especially for a male, to get into that race, which to me is like, if you have any thought about getting in, like, start putting in now, because it's gonna be tough. But it was cool, and it was like right around in like Hard Rock time, I think, too. So it's like for all the people who know they definitely will never be able to do Hard Rock, have a shot at, like a very, very hard mountain race. But yeah, overall it went great. Like my plan going in was to get the course record, and I knew I had competition. Tyler Fox, great runner who kicked my ass at Bandera the year before. And this is a very different course than that. So, I felt confident going in. He had a rough day out there. I think he had to pull out his bivvy at some point and kind of hunker down for a little bit. And so, I hope he does well at the rut. I think is coming up for him next. But it wasn't deep by any means, but I had a lot of miles by myself. I did have a few pacers hop in solely just for the company, because ultras can be boring sometimes. It's a lot of hours to just be jogging by yourself, and I was like, why not? I'm not like some of those pros who are against pacers. It's like, I don't know, man, like having a friend's fun. But I don't think it's going to affect me at Run Rabbit. I've done plenty of miles by myself, raced by myself. Like it shouldn't be a problem tomorrow spending some time solo, which will likely happen. But
I'm curious what draws you to want to be here and race Run Rabbit.
Yeah, that's a great question. If you look at my resume, it's I'm not one to go back and do the same race over, and it's not like I'm necessarily against that, and I could see why people would be drawn to that, but for so much of my life, I was forced to do the same track meets, the same cross meets, the same road races, literally year after year after year, and now that I actually have a choice, it's like, dude, there's too many amazing races out there, and like, why go back and do the same one over and over again? And Run Rabbit stood out to me because, well, it's relatively close. Like, we just drove here yesterday in 5-ish hours, and it's in the mountains. It's hard. It's it has the altitude, has some good climbs. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want a payday, but I won't go too much into the story. Anyone listening to this and wants to know more can hit me up. But initial motivation was really for surgery, and I've had a pretty serious injury actually for over a decade, and I finally got like a really good diagnosis, and my plan is to get it done this winter. I need to find a good surgeon for it, but I have iliac artery endofibrosis, and what pretty much happens, and it's hard to believe just given like I've had some great performances, and I'm a pretty consistent racer, and I can train some pretty high volume weeks, but what happens is my left leg just completely shuts down and loses all power if I don't listen to it and react to it. Fatigued. But it's something that like I call opening the pipes, like warming up well, treating it well, listening to it, lets me be able to have the performances that I do. And when you're averaging 10.5 to 12 minute pace out there, it's a lot easier on this kind of issue. But it's more common in professional cyclists. Like if you're interested in it, like look it up. But pretty much there's like kind of like a pinch in the artery where it's not letting blood flow through. And it got diagnosed from doing like a treadmill test where I hop on the treadmill and then hop on the ultrasound table, and they can see how the blood's moving through the iliac artery. But it'd be nice to help pay for that surgery. Also just closed on a home in like Midway area, kind of just like up from Midway in the mountains with beautiful trails, just a minute from the door in every direction. So it'd be nice to put a few dollars down for that. I mean, I've seen people like Jason do this for many years now, and I've always wondered, like, I know they like kind of change the course every single year. It's not exactly the same, but I've always wondered what I could do out in Steamboat, and it does seem like a good happy medium, like not too fast, not too hikey, and plenty of douche grade.
Great, man. Thank you for sharing. And I'm excited to see you run tomorrow, man.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Thanks for your time, Jimmy, and best of luck tomorrow.
Yeah, see you guys.